Here are the Volkswagen Phaeton headlights. These are the dual projector versions. I believe they're from Europe, and customers sending them in for some work. However, we will be documenting this lens swap. These lenses are increasingly harder to find, these headlight assemblies, and by now, unfortunately, most of them have suffered a lot of damage. UV breakdown, there's crazing, there's cracking, there's scratches, and in general, you can see they're just yellowed. So we'll be going over this lens replacement, showing you before and after of the procedure. That way we can offer it to customers looking to refresh their Phaeton and bring it to its original glory. Because the original headlights will put a damper on your front end and definitely age the vehicle. Once you've got new lenses on, it really changes everything. Not only restores your nighttime performance, but also just makes it look a lot better. All right, the Phaeton has been fully wrapped up. It's been converted with new projectors, and most importantly, you can take a look at the lenses. It's got brand new aftermarket lenses. So this gives it a whole new, fresh new look and a new life, essentially. Not only that, it increases the performance. The factory projectors had a dedicated high beam projector. That's HID, which is pretty untraditional. And the factory low beam projector was also HID. Now, they both had clear lenses, so it's pretty interesting. You don't usually see that. Shortly afterwards, I believe the whole industry sort of, kind of shifted to, Fresnel or dimpled lenses, anything to diffuse the light output a little bit for the cutoff. But this is pretty interesting because both of the projectors look very uniform, because the high beam one is still original, but it has a clear lens, and the low beam lens is the micro D2S. That is the only projector that we could fit inside here. The projector actually sort of seats right in the shroud, and the shroud is tiny. You can see it's really just like a straight up 2.5-inch shroud. It's really small by modern day standards. And we'll show you the performance in just a moment, but if you're here for the lens swap, this is what you can expect. The fitment is pretty solid here. Everything looks new and fresh, and even if you aren't doing a projector conversion, we can clean up the original projectors. You'll get some better performance as long as you do some bulbs and the new lenses, of course. But if you're restoring a Phaeton, this is the way to go. We do have a surprise for you though. We also added in a LED strip under that diffuser. It's actually pretty bright in person. Camera's showing off really nice because the factory has a clear diffuser built into it. I'm gonna back up a little bit, let the camera adjust, but it's really, really nice. It's gonna look really good. It's gonna look perfect for this setup. That's a Diode Dynamics 12-inch strip. It's called the HD LED switchback, okay? Now, when the turn signal is activated, it also changes amber, as you can see. So it gives it a really modern flair in the features, but it doesn't look aftermarket. All right, so we hope you like that. We'll show you how the performance is next. Here is the factory projector. Now this is exposed. We've got it right over the new retrofitted light. Clear lens, you can see it's got a lot of clarity and a little bit of color. But you can also see it's sort of dead, kind of right in the 6 o'clock position. And then it's got some kind of weird artifacts to the sides. The projector was in decent shape. It's a very old projector. This is a brand new Osram CBI bulb. We just want to do it so that way it's pretty consistent, and we'll get a performance reading at 25 feet, and looks like about 330 lux is our max. But yeah, that's got sort of like the old school, Euro cutoff. It's got a tall slope, kind of wavy, kind of mountainy looking, pretty common. We'll show you the micro D2S next. So here's that micro D2S. We've got the factory projector off to the side. We'll do a quick comparison also next between the two cutoffs and the outputs. But the Micro D2S also has a slope cutoff. It's also got some clarity and some sharpness to the beam because, again, it does have the clear lens like most aftermarket projectors. It does have a little bit more of a defined hotspot zone. And again, it's going through a aftermarket lens. It's going through a lens in general. So that does, you can see there is a little bit of diffusion. And if we were to compare these side by side without anything, you'd see a lot more clarity in this beam pattern. But yeah, we're in the 400 range, essentially. 440, 450. So it depends on where you're reading it, but yeah, almost about 500 lux. Again, this projector exposed produces a little bit better performance, but this is what you're going to get on this sort of conversion in terms of aftermarket lenses. There are no OEM lenses, and we'll do a quick comparison between the two projectors next. All right, we've got the retrofitted light just resting down below. We try to kind of center it off and have both of them right on top of each other. You can see there's a lot better width, especially on the Micro D2S. The hotspot zone is better, and I'll show you before we let you go, we'll take a look at the original projector. I am told that it's actually quite burnt, so we'll get into that next. But you can see there's definitely a dead zone off to the left, and in general, the Micro D2S just has a little bit of a better spread. So when I measured the light output, it was right underneath the cutoff on the original one. You can see that's pretty much all. The intensity zone is off to the right. On the left, it's quite dead. So there'll be a huge performance increase. But for this projector size, clear lens, I mean, there's a lot of things that are very similar between these projectors, except they're made, a few decades apart, essentially. One's aftermarket, one's original. But the original one is tired, and so was the lens. So if we take the whole delta, between the two of a worn original housing with a worn lens and a worn projector versus the new, you're going to see a huge difference in your everyday performance and value from your lighting system. So with these Euro lights, you have an additional projector in the high beam, as mentioned before. It's a dedicated high beam projector. The US spec lights don't have that. There's actually a motor, and it'll adjust, and it'll give you a whole extra HID system for the high beams. So that's really cool. Definitely a unique feature to this model. We haven't really seen anything like that. It's cool to analyze older technology and show it off to our viewers. Again, before we conclude, this is a great demonstration of a burnt projector. A lot of times people don't really understand what that means. What does it mean, a burnt projector? It's a burnt projector bowl, the reflective coating, usually directly above the HID bulb, due to UV and heat breakdown and just essentially coating failure. I mean, these are the early days of HID systems and HID projectors. And that's why we have that dead zone, underneath the cutoff essentially. And you can see one side is worn more than the other. It's actually quite amazing that it's producing fairly decent performance. And again, we're measuring intensity in one range, and it doesn't give us the whole picture. So to the critics that say, you got to measure lux in multiple points, you do and you should, but we're not a research laboratory. So it's good to rely on third-party sources for that kind of data. But in this case, you can see there'll be a huge improvement with these retrofitted headlight assemblies. Let us know what you think before you go subscribe to the channel. Leave us your thoughts, and hopefully we can help out a few Phaeton owners restore their lights and get them back to their glory days, But until then, take care.